there was someone who done a study, Carl Pilmer. He interviewed elderly people that were 80 plus.
Yeah,
to kind of get
yes.
Do you remember this? And this was actually quite touching, because it's like, I feel like in the back of my mind I know this already.
It's funny you said that, because no one cares about you. That's what I took from it, and it was right. It was like, no one cares, and it actually made me think about some of the things that we do as humans. A lot of the things we do are for other people.
This is interesting concept. The man in the car paradox. This I love this.
Welcome back to another episode of Book Reviews with Ty and Fly. I go by Ty.
Yes, Mr. Fly in the building. What's going on, people? What's going on, people?
So this month we have The Psychology of Money. Hopefully you can see it there in the camera, by Morgan Housel. And yeah, we're going to get into it. Firstly, again, this was your book. So why did you pick it?
Because I think it's an important topic. You know, money is important. Love it or hate it, it's something that you need in society. So, you know, and I think people's relationship with money and people's attitude to money is important, especially, you know, Entrepreneur Club Global. You're an entrepreneur, you know, you're trying to succeed in business. You need to have a good relationship and good understanding of money. Whether you feel like you have money or you don't, you still need to have the information of how to deal with money, because when you do get money, you don't want to end up without money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the book talks about that at a few stages. It's interesting, because the book was different to what I expected.
Me too.
In my head, the psychology of money was kind of clickbait in my head to reading it. It was like, I thought, okay, it's going to teach me like how to make more money and how to use my money wisely. But really, I think if we were to call the title for what it is, it's how humans think about money or the human psychology to money. Like the approach, like the I get what you're saying. I think similar to yourself, I thought it would be like kind of maybe mental practices or attitudes. Just, I don't know. I thought it would be different to what it was. But what I think it was looking back over history and looking back over time, as to how people dealt with money, or, you know, things what people have done. We'll get into it more. But it was a bit surprising of how the actual book went, because I thought it would be like, you know, how to deal with it. Because in the past, books that I've read before, or kind of learnings that I've done around how to deal with money, have been about, you know, save a certain amount of everything you put in and stuff like that. That's maybe quite a bit old school, but still very relevant. But that being said, I think it did touch on the psychology, on humans, on psychology of money, just in a more general phrase, as opposed to specifically you. I think that's what it is. You know what I mean? Like you said, humans, it's more general than like you. Do you know what I mean? As an individual. Yeah. Well, there was a few interesting parts to the book. And one of the things that I found great was a story about a guy called Ronald Read. I don't know if you remember that story, but Ronald Read was basically, I think he was a janitor or a cleaner or something. He was in, you know, a very low paid job. Nothing to, he wasn't earning loads of money through his job. But what they found, when he passed away, he died a millionaire. And they were confused as to why he died a millionaire. I think he had $8 million. He donated $6 million to charity. He gave $2 million to his stepchildren. But they was confused why he had generated so much money. And what's the term it used? I forget the term that it's used, but when it accumulates.
Compounding.
Compounding. So he had compounding investments. So literally he was donating from investing from whenever he started earning, and that money had just compounded. It had doubled and doubled and doubled and doubled over the years, to the point by the time he had passed away, he was a millionaire. And I found that, wow. What a great story.
I think that's the power of compounding. You know, I think if you're maybe some people don't know what it is. In very layman's terms, I'll try and explain it. So, if you have a savings account and you put £1 in that savings account, you get interest at the end of the month of, let's say you get 1 pence interest. So now you've got £1 or 1 pence. Next month, you're going to get interest off that £1 or 1 pence. So basically, every time the initial amount you put in, the interest on top of it compounds month by month, if that makes sense. So basically, it's a way of you not doing anything. You know, I remember covering this in school, but I didn't really understand it until my later life, to be fair. It didn't really make sense to me. So yeah, so you know, you put your certain amount in. Let's say you get 10%, that's a better way. So you put £1 in, you get 10% interest, which would be a great interest rate to get, wouldn't it? But yeah, you get 10% interest on that £1. So now you've got £1 10p. So the next interest you're going to get is going to be 10% on that £1 10p, and so on and so forth, and then 10% on that, 10% on that. So that's compounding. So with this guy, Ronald Read, he obviously put away a lot of money, and it was compounding over time. Similar, obviously, that's quite further down, but I think it's around chapter 4. But they speak about similar with like Warren Buffett, is how he, you know, people forget, like, he's been investing since he was 10 years old. Do you know what I mean? He's 80 plus now, so a lot, and he didn't make most of his money he made in his later years from his investments.
I think it was from 50 plus. It might have been later. I think I wrote it down somewhere. Yeah, I think it was like, I don't know. In my head, it's from 50.
Was it?
By the
Yeah,
time
there
you
you
got
go.
to age 50.
See, so, and that is a lot of that is down to due to the power of compounding. Do you know what I mean? So, I think, you know, I always dealing with money and savings and all that kind of stuff and investments and all this is really quite confusing, but also quite simple. But the power of compounding is something to understand. And then once you understand that, you can see how to leverage that and use that in different areas and different kinds of accounts, different kind of investments. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
No, I found that story quite interesting, of the Ronald Read, and that the concept of compounding, which was just a good reminder about, you know, things take time. You know, all these get rich quick schemes. You know, they're
you know, there's a good on that. So chapter 4, it's called compounding. That's a good tongue twister. And what it says here is about investing. So it's like, good investing isn't about earning the highest returns, because the highest returns tend to be one-off hits that can't be repeated. It's about earning pretty good returns that you can stick with and which can be repeated for the longest period of time. And that's pretty much it. You know, we always get, like, especially now, like with investing, we're talking about investing specifically, there's so many different opportunities to invest. You've got cryptocurrencies, you've got NFTs and obviously regularly your more traditional investing routes. People always, you know, you always hear that story, this bro, like, he done this, he put his money in this and he made that, and this girl, she done this and her money, she made 10 grand, she put in the. Those are the one-offs. Those are the exciting stories, you know what I mean? And he goes into it as well about tails. We'll go into that a little bit afterwards. Yeah. But those are like the big stories that you hear. You never hear, someone never comes, bro, you see him, he's been saving money for the last 20 years, like, you know, for my age, he's been saving money since he was 20 to now he's 37, and it's just been gradually growing and growing. Like, no one talks like that, you know what I'm saying? So but that's the norm. That's the norm. So look, that's a good point you raised about compounding. I think if anyone's watching this now and they're going to take anything away from this, and compounding is something that you can really use. You know, there's so many other options, man. I'm not a financial advisor. It's not financial advice. but yeah, look into it.
Yeah. What I liked as well about this was the explanation on how we all perceive money differently. And one of the examples it uses was someone saying that they couldn't afford $400 healthcare. I think it was in America. They couldn't afford $400 healthcare, but the lottery ticket is $2 every time.
Yes,
They invest in that lottery ticket 3 times a week, but they don't have a healthcare plan. Whereas instead of trying to be the one in, I don't know the odds of the lottery, but it's very slim odds. Instead of doing that, they could have, you know, invested that money into a healthcare plan or invested that money into something. So it's like even little investments is still investment. Put in £2, put in £5, it's still better than spending that on a lottery ticket in terms of our odds. And I thought that was
it says here, this is obviously, that's another thing with this book, but it happens quite a lot, and maybe you relate to this. This book is an American author, so it's written very much from the American perspective, which is, I mean, that's not for me, as because we're not American, so it's like you're reading it and they're putting the American spin on it, or the American kind of perception, so it made it a bit hard to relate to myself. But so regarding the lottery tickets, that was, I think that was chapter 1 actually, and it was like, that chapter was called No One's Crazy, and I think that was just talking about people have their reasons for why they do what they do. So you might look at, so this specific example now about the lottery tickets, that's low income households. So I think it was low income households in the US spend an average of £412 on lottery tickets. I think that's a year, right? Yeah. So with that's a lot of money. Like you said, with the healthcare, they put that money to the healthcare, but because of the demographic of those people, and because they're low income, they're trying to reach for a better life. They want to make money. They want to win the lottery. That's the dream. So that's their mentality. So for them, that's normal to buy a lottery ticket. You know what I mean? And I guess the same thing definitely applies over here. But richer households, if you know people that have money, that are wealthy, that are financially secure, they seldom, if ever, play the lottery. When I read this, I actually started thinking about. I was thinking, I know people that play lottery. I know people that don't, from all types of kind of demographics. But the people that I know that are well off, I wonder if they play the lottery. I doubt it. I've never asked them. I need to actually ask them people, but I doubt it. Versus the people that maybe are from a lower socioeconomic group, whether they play the lottery or and again, people that bet. That gamble. Yeah. You know what I mean? So again, but there's a reason behind it, and the reason it doesn't it's not a judgment thing. It's because these people, this is like a shortcut. They're trying to shortcut their way to wealth. Or to be financially secure, where the people that are financially secure, they don't need a shortcut because they're already there. So that was quite, and again, another thing it brought up as well quickly was about when you are born affects your attitude towards money. If you're born in a recession, your attitude to money is different because you're growing up in that recession versus if you are born in a boom. And the book, there's interesting, I don't want to give too much away, but things like this, that didn't really occur to me because we're born in a certain generation, and our attitudes to money are different from our parents' attitudes to money. And when we have kids, their attitudes can be different because you're born in a different situation. You're growing up, different experiences and whatnot. So yeah, man, that was interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe we'll touch on the different generations later because I found that interesting, the examples that they gave about the different generations. But I wanted to go on to the next point, which I had down, which was luck versus risk. This was a nice chapter because when we're investing, it's luck versus risk, right? And an example that the book gave, talking about Bill Gates.
Can I ask you a quick question just before you get there? Sorry to cut you, but did you think this book was, because do you think this book was just about investing or general finance?
No, I didn't think this book was. This book, I originally thought, okay, it's going to help. It's going to be about investing, but I didn't feel it was about investing specifically. I just thought it was about our attitudes towards money, the psychology, the human psychology around money, what we think, how we feel, how we act.
And, I agree with you.
There was a point off the back of that. I'll probably come to it later. But you said
Bill Gates.
Yeah, Bill Gates. He got lucky. I mean, he got lucky. Let me not discredit him.
No, explain. Explain
let me explain how
you're
he
right.
got lucky.
You're right. Explain.
So there's let me get my notes so I can. There's 300 million people in America, if I'm correct, or at the time of him being born, there's 300 million people in America. There were 300 schools with a computer. Was it 300 or was it one? No. I think there was one school in his era with a computer. Out of that one school, there was 300 students within that. So the odds is 300 students. He's in that group of 300 students out of 300 million people in the whole of America. So he's very, very lucky to be in that unique position. Now, because he's in that unique position, he has access to a computer like 299 point whatever million don't have access.
Yeah.
He was then able to learn about computing and then develop Microsoft, etc., etc. Of course, he had to be skilled, knowledgeable, etc. But he was very lucky to be in that position, to be born into that position in the first place.
Yeah.
Whereas his classmate, one of his classmates went mountaineering. And on the flip side, in mountaineering, you know, in some cases, I believe it was 1 in 1 million of people that mountaineer. Don't quote me on this, on the exact numbers, but they die. They sadly, you know, pass away from falling or whatever. His classmate died mountaineering, and he was on the other side of luck. You know, he was unlucky in that situation, that he happened to be in that percentage of people that died from mountaineering. So it was like there's the two sides of luck. There's the unluck and there's lucky. And yeah, Bill Gates was in that lucky position, which allowed him to then go and be great.
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, even if we relate it back to ourselves, you know, we're lucky. Do you know what I mean? We're lucky to be born in England. Do you know what I mean? We could been born somewhere else where life would be 10 times harder.
Yeah. And in the era, you know, in this era.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I think with the Bill Gates example, he was lucky enough to be born like that, to be put into that school where it sparked his interest, and he was able to develop that interest into Microsoft. You know, if he'd gone to a different school that didn't have a computer, who knows? Do you know what I'm saying? Who knows what would happen? Maybe someone else would have come, but it was him. So that is that's, so when you say lucky, it's not like because he still had to put in all the work and everything he had to do, but it was just he had the skill and the ability, and the luck came that was actually able to marry up with finding that computer. I think because his teacher, one of the teachers got that it was very rare. It was 1968. There wasn't a lot. It's like now maybe hard to understand or hard to think about because there's computers in every school. Do you know what I mean? So but yeah, no, that's a good example. And I think, but what, you know what it is, right? I think successful people, we don't look at them as, or people, they wouldn't really look at it as luck if they're successful. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and you, because it kind of sounds a bit undermining, like, oh, you know, Tyler, like, your company, like, oh, you know, you're lucky that ...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It kind of, it's like it kind of takes away from what we've done. But when you break it down to, like, you know, we talk about now, you know, we could have been born into poverty, like serious poverty, where there's so many things that could have been different, but that wouldn't even line up to us having this conversation now. So it's kind of good to be aware of that. You're fortunate, you know, again, going into gratitude and whatnot, things like that, because there's two sides to the coin. There's other people that aren't as lucky as us to even just be able to have, you know, we can go down there if we want to go there. But luck and risk is really thing. And I think one thing I liked from that chapter was, and I know I was saying this to my fiance, and I was like, there's so many outside factors that we think 100% of what we do equals 100% of our results. You know what I'm saying? We actually believe that, like, we think that, like, oh, if I do this, this, and this, and this is going to be out the outcome. It's likely that will be the outcome, but there's so many other outcomes that could have happened. You know, going back to, I always talk about this, but from the Annie Duke book about reflecting. Do you know what I mean? So even retrospectively, we might think, oh, if I had done this, then this would have happened. It's not cut and paste like that. It's not a cut and paste situation. Do you know what I mean? So it's cool, man. It's like, I'm trying to think of an example for myself, like even on, like, with the whole with obviously us just getting Fly HQ now. If I wasn't in the previous place I was, I could tell you we wouldn't necessarily be in Fly HQ, because I wouldn't have had that urge to do it. So that's a bit of luck to be put in that position. So anyway, I don't want to overdo it, but it's interesting, man. It's an interesting thing. You know?
Do you know what, this book, it really made me think, which I like. I love it when books challenge my thoughts and make me think about life and just put me in deep thought. You know, I like it when books challenge me like that. And surprisingly, this book made me more grateful. It's not a gratitude book, but it made me appreciate, because there was a part as well where it talks about never enough.
Yeah.
It talks about when you make money, you then want to make more money. Millionaires want to be billionaires. Billionaires want to be trillionaires. It's like a never ending. And it's kind of like, okay, when is it enough? When am I going to be satisfied with what I've got? And that made me sit back and think, rah, that hit, because as an entrepreneur, I'm always chasing, always trying to earn more money, always trying to increase my business, as I'm going to continue to do. But I'll need to be, in my head, it made me realize, okay, I need to be doing this as a form of, this is what I do, not because I'm chasing to get the more money, to be a millionaire, to be a billionaire. And it really made me sit back and reflect and be like, actually, you know, I'm very lucky for what I've got currently, you know, what I've been allowed to do. So yeah, it's not a gratitude book, but it made me think, which again, I like. I don't know if
that chapter, it brought two main examples that come to mind. I don't know the guy's full name, but his name was Gupta, and he was a trader, and he was successful, and I think he'd even come from humble beginnings in India, and he worked his way up to really successful, and he got basically done for insider trading. Insider trading is, what's the best way to describe it? Is when you get on the stock market, when you get tips about something's about to go get IPO. It's too technical, but basically you get tips that you shouldn't be getting tips. Yeah. So that's one example. So this guy's already a millionaire, already very successful, and he's doing things to make more money. He's risking everything. Literally, he got caught, ended up in prison. Bernie Madoff is a very popular. A lot of people know about Bernie Madoff. I remember with this story when it was going on. He did a Ponzi scheme where he was basically taking money from people as he was investing it, but he was then paying other people with that and then getting more money. So just getting money from people and paying it to people out as though that was their returns from their investments, and just washing that, doing that. He was super successful. This guy was like Bernie Madoff, Google him. And I remember this story. I remember when this hit the news, because this was a big thing. Again, millionaire, like more money than you can maybe even imagine. But they keep striving, keep going, and they're risking everything. That's look, we live in a capitalist society in the Western world, like mostly globally, it's a capitalist society. So that kind of is something that instills that drive for you know more, bigger. You know, whether that's a right or wrong thing, that's another conversation. But that's the way it is, especially when you're going into business. I think growth is a natural part of business. Yeah. Saying that, growth is a natural part of life. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So you're always wanting to grow, you always want to do better, but you have to find the balance. Do you know what I mean? So, and there was a good phrase in the book where they put, and it was like, happiness is when you manage to get the goalpost to stop moving. You see what I mean? But I think there's a balance to find it, because you must have your kind of your final outlook of, this is what I want to achieve and this is what I want to do to be successful. But the reality is, when you get there, especially if you're an ambitious, motivated person, you're more than likely going to want to do something more. Yeah. But then we go to, it's about the journey, not the destination. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So there is two ways. It's about the development. It's about who you become. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But yeah, regarding finance, what it says here is the hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. Happiness is results minus the expectations. Yeah. So yeah, and I think it's quite insightful, actually. The book in regards to that chapter, especially because I think it goes on to, was it this? No, that was a different chapter. But it talks about the risk. Is it worth taking that risk? Was it worth it? If you went and spoke to Bernie Madoff and got to, like, was it worth it? Other people that have taken these kind of financial risks, like, or these risks, and they're already in a position of success, a position of power. If you speak about athletes, successful athletes that are doing like doping or drug doping and stuff like that, and they're already at the top. Was it worth it? That's just something. Was it? I don't know. Maybe it was.
And I think it can be transferable. The message is transferable, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's not just about money. It could be about anything. It could, like you said, it could be about you're at the top of your sporting game and you're doping, or it could be you've got a girlfriend but you want more girls. Or, it can be transferable to everything. So yeah, I really liked the message of it, to just be like, yeah, no, chill. Don't keep going, keep striving. Obviously, I'm not gonna do that. That's me. That's who I am, and that's what I enjoy doing. But remember to be grateful.
No, I was gonna say, because I think a lot of it talks about social comparison, which I think plays a part.
Yes,
it does talk about social comparison, and it's like with that, it says the ceiling of social comparison is so high that virtually no one will ever hit it.
Yeah.
So that's where you get into these, and these are the reasons. But it would be good to kind of have a conversation with, or maybe I might have to watch an interview with Madoff actually. And I haven't heard about the Get to guy since before this, but just to kind of hear their reflections of it after the event and what their motivations were.
I'm glad you touched on social comparison, because I want to dive into that. Actually, there's a story that it talks about when it talks about don't quote me on the years, but I think it was the 1950s where I think TV was recently introduced, and they were all the neighbors, everyone on your street watched the same TV shows. Because there wasn't that much option there. So everyone at 7 p.m. was watching whatever show that was on, regardless of whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're middle class. And during that time, you all compensated like it was normal. People that earned higher incomes didn't necessarily look like they had a higher income in comparison to their neighbors. People were kind of living a very similar lifestyle regardless of their income. And also in that time, people could only compare themselves to their neighbors because there was no social media, there was no internet. People could just compare themselves to who was around them, and people were happy. People were happy and content with that, because so and so my neighbor next door is not doing better than me. They're on the same level as me, right? Whereas now you see little kids making millionaires, making millions on YouTube, or as you touched on earlier, NFTs, or we've got the internet now, and we can compare ourselves to so many different people all over the world, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous. It's definitely dangerous, man. And again, I thought that was a good reminder that actually these weren't issues that our grandparents had to face back then, comparing to someone in America that's 10 years old making.
The thing is, there's still social. I think social comparison is something that is a human condition.
Yeah.
But it's just who you're comparing yourself to and how wide that net is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because, like you said, before, you're kind of comparing yourself to the people in your immediate circle or around you that you're kind of in arm's length, in touch and distance. Now, like you said, you go online and you can see someone in another country that's driving, whatever it might be, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, man, like, da-da-da-da-da. So that's the difference. And it makes it worse, because it's bad enough as it is. Because, your neighbor might be, come on, bro, like, look at my house and look at your neighbor house, might be kitted up and they've got a nice car in the driveway and all them sort of things there. And then you look and think, wow, like, I haven't got a car. Or their house looks better than mine. Their garden, or wherever it might be. You know what I mean? Whatever it might be. So, and that's dangerous for a lot of people, man. You see people go broke over those things.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's that Kevin Hart joke where it's like, when he's like, when he goes out with his rich friends, and with his sports friends, this is like one of his old jokes. Yeah?
Okay.
And he's like, when he goes out with his basketball friends, they went out like to some bar and all that kind of stuff, and they're like, yeah, let's buy bottles and tables and da-da-da-da-da. And then when it comes down to like paying the bills, obviously they're spending loads of money, he's in it, then he's like, the way my bank account's set up, like I got to move the money from the check-ins to the savings. Anyway, funny joke, I'm not doing this, but watch it. But that's the whole point. It's like, trying to keep up, like, and I think especially, talking from personal experience, like growing up in London, there's a lot of pressures, man. You go out with different groups of people, and, but you got to be, it's hard. It's hard. And that's the psychology part of it as well.
Yeah.
Because you have to kind of be mindful, say, you know what? Hey, I'm not going out. I'm not going to do that. Or I'm not going to make a purchase. I'm not going to go on that holiday. I'm not going to buy. I'm not going to do whatever because it's not my. I'm staying in my lane, and my lane is different from your lane, or whatever it might be. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard, man. But it's not easy.
Yeah, and this is why your circle is so important, man. Because your circle also dictates what you do with your money, right? You know, say one of my friends had a birthday meal, and if they were going to, I don't know, the Ritz or something, now I have to go and spend, or I don't have to, but if I want to maintain that friendship or try and be a good friend or whatever, I'm now going to spend a lot of money on a meal, whereas first going to Nando's or something, do you know what I mean? So, or versus not going for a meal at all and just having like a little link up or something, do you know what I mean? It's your circle can really dictate on the income.
Look, man, just to finalize that one, I think there's pros and cons with social comparison because it can be quite motivating, but what it boils down to is where your values lie. And what's your reason, you know, because you might look at someone, I might look at you and be like, wow, Tyler's doing this thing, man, and that might motivate me and not make me go and spend out more money and be like, let me just pretend like I'm on Tyler's level. No, let me get to Tyler's level. You know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but anyway, carry on. Yeah,
no, 100% agree. And I think part of our friendship is we do that. I think we naturally do that with each other. Oh, Chris is doing this, Tyler's doing this. Yeah, cool. And we use it as motivation. And
it's a motivational factor,
yeah, it's a motivational factor, and it works well in this instance. Yeah, because I'm not hating on you, and you're not hating on me. I hope. Never be. So Tails, you touched on Tails earlier.
Yes.
And this was again a great concept when it comes to investing, and it helped me remember, like, not everything's going to be successful. It talks about you might invest in 10 things, 9 of them flop, and 1 thing booms. And this again, I related to so many different things as well. I related it to like current things that I'm investing in or trying. For the loyal subscribers on the channel that watch my other videos, you will have known
big up to all of you, you know.
big up to all of you, you know.
Big love to them, you know. Big love, man. Go on, carry on, T.
But they will have seen from some of my other videos that I've tried to see what the NFTs are about, and me trying the NFTs is flopped. I now understand the play of NFTs, but it hasn't made me any money. I mean, there's still possibility, but it's unlikely it's unlikely. Whereas there's been other investments, for example, cryptocurrency, which I've got a little bit of cryptocurrency. That investment has done well. You know, there's so many different things that I've tried, I've failed, but it's all learning. One thing will eventually take off. And I related that to this channel as well. The videos, some of them aren't doing so well. Some of them will do so well and blow up. So I'll let you interject.
Big up, big up, bro. Because that chapter, I mean, again, we talked about it prior, where it's like the big news, the big hit, the big success gets the, you know, if you look at it in like examples, like let's use football as examples. The goal scorer gets all the love, innit? Whoever scored goals gets all the love. It's seldom now. The narrative has changed a little bit now, because the hard workers, the engines of the team are now starting to get, like, I'm not a Chelsea fan, but like Kante, for example, she's played for Leicester. Those players that are just doing the grind, consistently doing good numbers, doing good things, they're now getting their shine. But typically, the goal scorer gets all the love. The goals, you know, whoever's banging in the goals. So that is kind of like the one-off. You know, they scored 1 goal and won the game, but the other person made 10 tackles that stopped you from losing 10-0, you know, to use a sport example. Regarding Tells, so this chapter was called Tells You Win. And I liked it because it spoke about like how our kind of psychology is regarding like what people pay attention to. So like, you know, they pay attention to the big hits, you know, and it spoke about like, talking about, you were saying about your channel, and they go this, talking about venture capitalists. If a venture capital company makes 50 investments, they expect half of them to fail. 10 to do pretty well, and 1 or 2 to go bonanzas. That will, and that from those 1 or 2, that drives 100% of the revenue. So, you know, we kind of, so like, see the story you just told us now, NFTs, cryptocurrency, YouTube channel, you know, you're spreading it out there.
Yeah.
So some of them are going to do better than others. Some are going to do not so well. But then all it takes is one or two, and those one or two supplement you, but you have to put yourself out there in the first place.
Yeah.
And this is how, you know, these big venture capital companies, that's how they operate their business.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? But we only pay attention to the success story. You know what I mean? So let's say like, oh, you know, the story in a year's time will be, oh, Tyler, like, oh, his channel boy, man, got whatever it'll be. People aren't paying attention to the other things you did, or whether it was crypto, whatever that thing is that takes you over the line. You know what I mean? So I think to explain what tails are, it goes, so tails are an outlying 1 in 1,000 or 1 in a million event, but it gets all the attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, so look, talking about business, people always think that the business that goes popular, the big business that is the one that makes all the money, people think, oh, that's his first business or her first business. Myself personally, I've had many businesses that have failed. I'm saying. So that's like, but people pay attention to now. Oh, Fit for Life Youth. That's what people. But they don't know, man. I've been on the grind, man.
You've been grinding. You've been out here.
So I'm still grinding. But that's my example. My point is, people pay attention to that one event, and as a society, we do that. And obviously, because people like success stories and whatnot, and it's maybe sensationalized a little bit. But that's what we call a tail. Tails you in. But then talking about reality, so going to investing, it says here in the book, a good definition of an investing genius is the person who can do average things when all those around them are going crazy. So that goes down to temperament. So instead of chasing like, oh, this is hot now, oh, that's hot, let me No. Just stay in your lane. Do what you do. Going back to compounding, I'm just gonna keep compounding like that millionaire you spoke about. Yeah. Just keep compounding. Everyone else is doing their thing. And this is where the success is, but it's boring. I'm saying it's not. There's no one's gonna write those, like. There's no films gonna be made about the guy that just sat home and just set up a standing order and kept it moving. You know what I'm saying? There's no one gonna do that.
Like you said, I think that is the key word. It's boring, and that's why it's not exciting to invest a little bit. You know, £100 a month. It's not. It's boring, and I think. Again, that goes into the psychology behind us as humans. We don't like boring. We want excitement. Just to go back onto the spread betting or tails. Sorry, I wanted to just give a brief example from our business. So I've got about, I think 12 or 13, 14, something like that, different webinars. I've got loads of webinars that I deliver. The majority of my income from my webinars have come from about 3 or 4. So it's like making these webinars is fantastic. I'm putting myself out there. I sell them to companies, but there are a few that have made the bulk of my income through webinars. And it's like, you gotta put yourself out there, right? You gotta spread. So if you're gonna invest, you gotta try try different things.
But that's the way it is in business, though. You know, you'll have a business, any business you think about, like maybe with Amazon, iPhone, Google, whatever.
He
Facebook,
talks about Amazon actually.
He does. He talks about Amazon, but there'll be one product that's the headline product, that's the star line product that everyone wants, and then the others don't do nowhere near as well as those. But that's kind of typically how things run. And then you try and kind of beat that product, but that's business, bro. That's what it is. Yeah. You know, you have a successful product, and what that does is it puts your business out there, and then now it introduces you to others that they might come in and pick. Oh, let me just pick and choose that. But you know, you have one premium product or service or offering. That's typically the way it goes.
Yeah.
That drives the business, you know.
It took just to touch on Amazon. It talks about, you know, we all know Amazon. Amazon makes most of their money from their web services, which we all know Amazon from, you know, Amazon Prime, next day delivery, order what you want, blah, 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 blah. But they make the majority of their money from their web services. And I think it was even their Amazon phone or something that flopped.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, we expect things to flop. We've got to try. We expect things to flop. And again, I think that's just a great mindset when it comes to investing or business or whatever. Things fail. You just learn from them and move.
Look at Apple as well. Like Apple were out the game Then was it was an iPod? I think brought them back into the game. Yeah, it was the iPod.
Yeah,
that's what brought them back in. And then after that, they now gone crazy again. But that's how it goes, man.
Yeah,
you know, but we that's an interesting concept about tales, and I thought that was interesting. We even spoke about Disney and Snow White. That obviously Disney, I think, it wasn't doing well. It was Snow White that was the one that basically busted to put it in that, to put it like that. So, you know, there's
Snow White was the one that blew up Disney and made them, but all the other things that they had didn't perform.
Yeah.
What I'm conscious of time, so let's keep it moving. One of the other things, freedom. Can we
talk about this? Yeah, this is interesting concept. The man in the car paradox. This I loved this.
Okay,
Do you remember this?
Not by that definition.
All right, cool. So basically, the man in the car paradox is when people, well, I don't want to generalize, but people may buy a certain type of car because they want to get seen in this car. So let's say you buy a Ferrari, you buy a Ferrari, you got your drop top down, you're cruising. You want people to see you, yeah? This is the paradox. So the person I'm talking about, he's done this for a specific reason. He wants when he drives, or she wants when they drive past people to look and be like, yo, look at such and such in that whip. Like, I wish, like, he's got it or she made it. But what the man in the car paradox is that when people see that person driving, they see the car and they see themselves in the car and they think about themselves. And it's like, so the person who's buying a car, actually, if they're buying it for that reason where they want people to basically envy them or be jealous by them or whatever you want to call it, they're not actually achieving that because the person sees it. And then I start thinking to myself, bro, like, when I see a nice car, like, I don't even look at the driver.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I look at the car. Do you know what I'm saying? So that was, I don't know, what did you think about that?
Yeah. It's funny you said that because no one cares about you. That's what I took from it, and it was right. It was like no one cares, and it actually made me think about some of the things that we do as humans. A lot of the things we do are for other people. It's for other people. But we think we portray it and say, "Oh no, it's for ourselves." So, for example, it's like me getting a fresh trim. I'm very aware that me getting a fresh trim makes me feel good because other people look at me and say, "Oh, you got a fresh trim." It's not because I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got a fresh trim." It's because I know that other people see my fresh trim and think, "Okay, he's got a fresh trim," right? I'm very aware that that's not for me. If there was no one on the earth and no one around, and I lived on a desert island, would I care about getting a fresh trim? I know that I wouldn't care about getting a fresh trim. I get it because I need it to represent myself. So for example, I've been teaching in the college recently. I try and make sure that my trim aligns with when I'm going in there because I want them to perceive me in a certain way. But it's not for me. It's for them.
Yeah. I get you.
And that bit just reminded me that no one cares about you. Like deep down, really, it's all about ourselves. And and people can say, "Yeah, I do this." I had a conversation with someone. They're talking about waxing. They said, "Oh yeah, they get their waxing for themselves." I'm like, yeah, but if there was no one around, would you still wax? There was like, oh, maybe I'd leave my legs, and I wouldn't. Maybe I'd leave my legs because in winter, I don't shave my legs as much. So, okay, there you go. But yeah, it's just an interesting conversation. When you think about the things that you do you do it for yourself or do you do it for other people? Because a lot of the time it's for other people.
Yeah, no, that was just an interesting. That was just interesting because I think I'd heard it before somewhere, and it kind of reminded me, and then I just thought about it. So to see your views on it, but that was. I just wanted to talk about that really. There was a lot of things, man. There was another area, but Cohen's I'll find it because I know.
There was one thing that I wanted to touch on briefly was freedom, because when it comes to money, the goal isn't necessarily to be a millionaire. The goal is to have freedom, to be able to live your days as you wish. And it reminded me of some of the sacrifices I've made to then be in sort of a freer position that I am now. For example, then perhaps someone that's employed and has to be at work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And again, for the lower subs on the channel, you will have known that as I grew my business, I was living at my dad's, staying on the sofa for a couple of years, and just grinding it out as I was growing the business till I could afford to rent. There was a guy, he worked for 2 years to save up enough money to then pursue his music career.
Derek Sivers.
To then just live his life following his passion. He wanted to be a musician. He then saved up enough money. Once he got into the music industry, he started to make enough money to survive and live and follow out his dream and just get by. And I thought that was a great story.
No, you're right. No, you're right. I think, he saved up 12k, he quit his job to be a musician, basically. That was good. I think with this, what does it say here? It says, take it from those who have lived through everything. Yeah, that was it. There was a study done, that was it. There was someone who done a study, Carl Pilmer. He interviewed elderly people that were 80 plus. To kind of get there. Do you remember this? And this was actually quite touching, because it's like, I feel like in the back of my mind, I know this already. And I feel like maybe people know this already, but we can't help to live how we live in, sort of thing. But we kind of know where it's going to go. And he did a study, I think it was called Lessons in it, and he did a book called Lessons for Living. Maybe you can review it at one time. And one of the things he got from the book was, take it from those who have lived through everything. Controlling your time is the highest dividend money pays. And I agree with that. And for me personally, that's something I'm working towards. I know at the moment now I'm quite time poor, very very time poor. But it's I know I'm doing that at this stage, but the goal isn't to remain like this. The goal is to move into become time rich. You know what I mean? So you've got some people that are, and I've spoken to people that again have been in really 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 top jobs, very high paying jobs, very stressful jobs, but those jobs that require you to be there all the time. You're getting paid a lot of money, and with that money comes a lot of expectation. So yes, you've got all the money, but at the same time you've got zero time, and now there's expectation, there's pressure on you. So if your phone rings at 3 a.m. in the morning because your client is in another country and that's their time, you have to answer that phone. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever you might need to do. And is that a rich life? Do you know what I'm saying? Is that a rich life? Maybe for some people. I know for me, definitely not. Even so it's not necessarily about going after that number. It's about a lifestyle. But I do think that now our mentality is in with this generation. People are understanding that more, and a lot of people I'm finding are kind of reducing their hours from work. Maybe again with the current situation, people are now working from home more, trying to have that time. Because I haven't got kids yet, but I know definitely I want to spend time with my kids. I don't want to have that regret that I don't want to have that regret like, the first 10 years I was working. I get to see them grow and whatnot. And I've had conversations with people, seen people that are like where they were the first 2 or 3 years of their child's life. It's like their child barely knew them because they weren't around them that much. So they had to kind of build that relationship with them and whatnot. So yeah, man, controlling your time is the highest dividend money pays. And I think that for me, that's the goal. It's not necessarily the number. It's not like to make an M or to make 10 M's or whatever it might be. It's like, no, like I was saying to you the other day, what's the number I need to make to be free? In the sense of what number do I need to make where I can just do what I want to do? Because I'm not going to sit here and say to you, I hear people say like, oh, I was going to go and sit on the beach and drink a pina colada and that. That sounds like a living hell to me. Because you're always going to want to, like for me anyway, you're dead. In that sense, it's like you're done. If that's your life, if that's what you want to do, fine. But I don't think people really want to do that. I think that's
not permanently anyway.
Not permanently, no. Come on, man. You go on holiday for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You get bored by the end of it because you need to have something. Whether that might be, that doesn't mean about a job. That doesn't mean about like working or whatever. You might just want to go and volunteer 3 times a week at a homeless shelter. You might just want to go and help kids read. You're gonna want to do something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You might want to just spend more time with your parents or go. You might want to. You're gonna want to do something. You might want to get fit. There's so many examples. You're not gonna just want to wake up in the morning. Oh, read the menu. Yeah, have a pina colada. Yeah, sit here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the time. Oh, what's the sunset? Oh, yeah. All right. Good night. Come on, man. That's hell.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound good to me. So, but you want to buy your time back, so you can do what you want to do with that time. Not to say you're not going to do anything with your time.
Yeah, 100%. Right. I mean, there's other things that we haven't even touched on in this book, man. This book, as we've kind of spoke about, we've barely spoken about money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the book is the psychology of money, and I think that's because it's more about psychology.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's move on to our star rating and difficulty rating. You know, last month, I think I called it readability. But it's difficulty rating. Your first star rating. What are you saying?
I struggled with this one. Struggled with it, and even this morning when I was reading the notes, I was struggling with. But I'm gonna give this a 4. I started off on a 3 this morning, then I went to 3.5. Then when I was reading the notes, I was like, no, that's a 3.5. Then I was like, nah, 4.
Yeah.
But it's just hit 4 though. It just reached 4.
You know, it's interesting because I wasn't as low as a 3, but I was like, this book has given me some gems, man. This book has made me think. And I was at a 3.75. I was like, is it a 4? Can I give it a 4? And I'm going to give it a 4. I think this year is the year of upvoting. Okay. I think there's some books that I've been a little bit harsh on over the last over our book review series.
I don't feel like we've given the same number for a review for a while. I need to go back.
Yeah, I don't think
we
so.
haven't agreed for a minute now. But okay, cool.
So yeah, this is a 4. Good book. I definitely recommend people to read it. And yeah, with an open mind. All right, cool. Difficulty rating. How difficult did you find it to read?
2. Wasn't difficult at all, especially considering the topics. You know, even though at 1.5, even I found this book was not difficult at all.
Yeah. And
I think those are the best. And it was short. It was good too. I'm 1.5, sorry.
Yeah. Again, easy read for me, or easy enough read. I'm giving it a 2. Short chapters. Free flowing, nice, easy read, not confusing language. Okay, wicked. Next month's book, we have The Unfair Advantage. This is my book, and this actually hasn't been recommended by anyone. This is one that I actually just went online, looked it up, and thought, let me find another business book. And The Unfair Advantage, it's got some good reviews. I'm looking forward to reading it. Make sure you subscribe, like, all of that, so that you catch it when we drop it next month. That's our book review.
Can I ask as well? So I know people watch this year. Can you recommend a book for us?
Yeah.
Recommend a book. Yeah, put it in the comments. Yeah, or DM hit up T on the Entrepreneur Club Global page. Send a book, send a recommendation. Anybody.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, put some recommendations in. Help us. I've actually got a few lined up now, but still,
same here.
But still, I would prefer if the viewers, drop some gems on us. All right, support the ting. Peace and love.